all right. Welcome to Liberia Shall Rise. This is Dr. Positive. I'm here with my own brother, Mr. Mayan. Mr. Mayan, I'm going to let you do the introduction of the show today. You're my celebrator, so I'll let you take it. Welcome to Liberia Shall Rise.
All right, thank you, Mr. Keller. It's good to be here. And I want to say thanks to everybody who listening and everybody who can ask questions and contribute. There is a place where we exchange idea, where we exchange opinion to see how best we can make Liberia a better place for other. Is our goal. We are one people to Liberia, so we want to make sure we are doing everything positively to make sure we have a better Liberia for our children and future to come. So once again, to the positive, I said thank you. We're gonna keep the show positive as always and see how best we can contribute to our country.
All right, brother. So it been hot. It been hot on the internet, hot in America, hot around the world a few times. We're talking about international aid from America. America is mostly one of the highest donor to many countries around the world. Like America gave a lot of country funds, and Liberia is no excuse. So when Trump said he's stopping international aid, we all been worried how impactful will this be on Liberia. So I think I'm excited to come and go into this discussion. And before we continue the show, let me just play our theme song here. Once the song finished, then we can get the show started. All right?
All right, sir.
Oh, hail Liberia, hail. Oh, hail Liberia, hail. This glorious land of liberty shall long be out. Though new name, great be her fame, and mighty be her powers. Oh, hail, oh, hail
All right, family. Again, welcome back to Liberia Shiraz. That was our own brother Otello Collins with All Hail Liberia in Union Strong, success will forever be sure. Mr. Mayor, so join me again. Let's unite and talk about the budget of Liberia today. I would like you to do your intro. What do you think about the foreign aid that is being stopped for international countries? And then we can probably basically look at the Liberian budget and see some of the key items that have been covered in that budget. Then we can go gradually into some of the notes that we gather.
I think from me, from my own perspective, is there's a positive side to the foreign aid that have been covered, where there also a negative aspect. Like I always tell people, every major decision has its own positive and negative. So it depending which one overweigh the next one. So I think for a Liberia perspective right now, the positive, the negative to the Liberian economy overweigh the positive at this point. So if I say there's a positive and negative aspect of the decision by the current United States president to put a hold on the all foreign aid on the after 3 months, it's positive in a sense that no country developed through the dependency on foreign aid, most especially the one from the USAID. No country developed through the dependency on foreign aid. If a country should develop, it has to develop its own development plan and its own revenue generation strength, because foreign aid is not something that will always be there. And we have seen it where it happened in the event that Daniel Trump had revoke or put hold onto the foreign aid. So it's almost looking, I like to be practical, I like to make things very simplified. It's almost looking like you got your child in the house, right? So the child is growing of age little by little. You know, say the child can do their own laundry, but you keep doing laundry for the child. You know, say the child can wash dishes, but you keep washing the dishes for the child. It will come a point where you are no longer around and the child cannot do their own laundry and they cannot wash their own dishes and they cannot wash dishes in the house, and you start to complain that the child is useless and stuff like that. So international aid have been make most of the country lazy in a sense and lacks innovation to see how best they can generate revenue to cover most of their budgetary or do more for their people than what they are doing. Because if, for example, the economics, the left to payroll ratio of in Liberia is very different from what the person that is making the highest and the person that is making it lower. Payroll is high in Liberia because a lot of foreign aid is going to Liberia. And everybody would believe me that payroll went through the roof during Ellen time. And you see that Ellen government received the highest number of foreign aid. And because she was receiving those money, that's what she had the time to increase payroll. Before Ellen time, Chancellor time, payroll was not that high. Our legislature payroll was not that high. Our minister payroll was not that high because Chancellor knew that he had to operate within the funding that the Liberian government was raising to be able to pay the people. But Eddie knows she never had to operate within that funding because she knew she had a lot of international money coming in. So she was people in Eddie government were making up to $25,000 per month in an economy like Liberia. So that make the country to be lazy in focusing on development and increasing overhead expense because of the international aid that was coming, because economic policy was not being organized and being drafted according to the Liberian budget, where it was more of how many foreign aid Liberia were getting in. So that's how put some of the that had contributed some of the underdevelopment of Liberia. So with Daniel Trump putting stop to this foreign aid, we will go into our cover and say our overhead, because that's one of the major issues in Liberia, our overhead is too expensive, it's too high. We should not be hiring scratch card and some benefit for people because we can look according to this thing. Government can have like what we do in America. Government can sell food to anybody that they think they need food. And they can tell the cell phone company, recharge this phone every month with $20. That's what it's going to be used for government call and government purposes. If a person want to use $300, they can use $300 for their pay and make their individual car. But people are getting $1,000 scratch card per month. That's people salary. $500 scratch card a month. That's whole people's salary. That's just benefit. See, you and myself working in America. We don't no agency give a car. If we want a car, we buy a car. If we have to use government car, it's been monitored. Where we use the government car to go, how we use the government car, it depends on how many fuel the government put in that car. So a lot of historical measures have to be put in place because of the reduction into the foreign aid. So it's a positive side that we can rethink our budget and rethink our economy to see how best we can make some cuts to some of this unnecessary and wasteful spending in our government.
Mr. Mayor, I didn't want to stop you because I saw how painfully you're going into this. So let Mr. Sapolosia chime in a little bit. Sapolosia, welcome. This is Mr. Mayor. I know this you guys meeting yourself for the first time. So I will do the introduction quick. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Sapolosia.
Yes. Good afternoon, guys, and good afternoon, Mr. Mayor. So what those things that you see are all kind of problem that we have in our country. And I think what we need to do is exercise or restrain when it comes to spending in Liberia. I think we need to live within our budget. Okay. Looking at our country, where the GDP I think just went up to 4 billion, we should be thinking of how we can cut our coat according to our measurement, right? You and I, in fact, in Liberia, I'm sure there are people who will set their budget every month and say, this is what I'm going to do, or this is what I'm going to spend money on, my rent, my children's school fee, food, and stuff like that. And we do the same thing here. I think Liberia, looking at how revenue she's generating, that is where they should draw their entire budget based on their revenue generated, not based on foreign aid, because foreign aid is not reliable. It's not something that you should put as part of your budget. And that's just my opinion, because this have caused our country to be in a state at which it is now, where people look out to the other part of the world for a solution to their problems. Right now in my home, my relative, my father, my uncle, wherever, cannot come in my home and make decisions for me. They cannot tell me, look, Emmanuel, you don't discipline your child. You can't do this to your child. Why? Because I'm doing everything here financially. I support my home. So nobody can just easily come into my house and tell me what to do. Now, if you open yourself to that liability or to that circumstances where you are depending on another person to survive, then they tend to tell you what to do and how to do it, right? So I think this policy, if enforced by Donald Trump or the U.S. government, will create an avenue where Liberians and other African countries can recalibrate their thought and say, look, let us now start to work on our budget in the best way possible to benefit us. What that would mean is, like our brother alluded to, removing things like scratch card, removing things like giving fuel. In fact, the one vehicle, if you look at their budget, you got fuel, you got maintenance, you got lubricant, you got. So I don't know what all those different things for the one car. You have lubricant, fuel, and then maintenance and all that stuff. I don't know what they are for. So if you can take that money and direct it somewhere else, or redirect it somewhere else, it will help the country. So we need to start thinking of how we can be self-sustaining instead of just always depending on somebody. So I think this policy might be an eye-opening for the African who will want to develop their own country instead of taking it as a negative thing. I don't think we should really look at the West negatively when they say they're going to seek their own interest. And besides, let us not forget all of these so-called aids that have been coming. Most of the money comes right back to the countries that give it to you. Because if you look at the European Union, when they send money to Liberia, you got guys that leave Europe to go to Liberia to work with that money. They see with Americans, the USAID we're talking about, there were Americans out of America that were living in those countries that they're spending that money on. But the name is there that we gave Liberia whatever millions of dollars, not telling the common man or other people that, hey, there's 11 million. Let's just say, I'm just throwing money out there. Let's say this 11 million we gave Liberia, we are taking about 70% back. So we have to now recalibrate and start focusing on our own development and how it applies to us, and stop living outside of our means, because that's what Liberia is actually doing right now. In a country where people are living below, so most of the people, in fact, most of the family income in Liberia is less than $1 a day. Why are you paying somebody $15,000 to $20,000 a month? That should not be accepted. In the United States, you don't have that. Where you have in the House of Representatives, where the speaker here makes about 250,000 in Liberia. We're talking the speaker house. I mean, the speaker already get the money that is there. You will be thinking that Liberia budget or GDP is in the trillion. So we need to start living within our means, and I hope this can serve as a lesson to us, to all of us.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sapolosi and Mr. Mayor. So I just want to go through these quickly, and then we can, if you guys have something to chime in, we can come back over those slides. So I'm going to do a quick presentation here. Your professor permit me. So I got the Liberian budget. I went through it, and I just highlighted a few things. So from what I'm seeing right here, it said our total revenue was about 700 million. I think there's one for the WACA, the total expense and revenue. It came up to about 840 million, but 840 million, out of that 840 million, we have 315 million as compensation. This was during the WEA time. This is 2023, and for the far right is 2024. So that our compensation is about 315 million, right? 315 million. So if I go down here quick, right? If I go down here quick, like my brother was saying, right? Sapolosi was saying, our senators, you look at our senators, these guys are making 15,000. I don't know the numbers, right? I didn't get the numbers 100%, but from what I've been hearing, there's 8,000. 15,000. So if you add just these guys alone, 12 million a year. But look at the balance we have here. If we just subtract compensation, we have $536 million to use to build the country as whatever we have to do. So if you subtract that from the 800, the 315 million from the 800,000 that is allocated for 2025, you will see that we have 530 something million dollars left, right? So with that amount left, right, we've already putting ourselves in a negative. If you go to this next slide, you see that, I think it was this year, you already see that we were like in a negative over here, right? It shows that we are in a negative. For this other year, they didn't show the negative balance for some reason. I don't think it added up, but so maybe this for 2014, it doesn't show negative, but all the other previous years, you can see from WEA time all the way to to last year, we were in a negative already. Every time we have a budget, like Sapolosi was saying, we already start in a negative. So if you have your house and you already starting at the negative balance of your credit card every year, right? Can you really sustain your household? Can you really take care of your family? So these are some of the things that we're doing already as a country, and we're not living within our means as a country. Like my brothers were saying, if you have a situation where you tight on cash, tell the government official, hey, we'll pay your way, we'll pay a salary, but you have to find your way to work. It is a requirement for you to transport yourself to work. If you cannot transport yourself to work, then we'll find somebody who will transport himself to work. Why should we pay for your gas? Why should we pay for your electricity, your housing, and other things for you to work in our government? You understand? Now, if there's a government vehicle that brings everybody to work, then that is understandable. But for individual workers, right, I don't see why we should give them all that incentive. And the incentive is so much that the people share it. That they can give out gas card for free to other people in their family and friends. You know, a friend of mine just told me he went to Liberia. He have a friend in the government, and this guy gave him 20 gallons of gas, right? A slip to use. So that means this guy has surplus. That's why he's sharing it with people, especially for somebody that comes from the US. So I want you guys to chime on this before I go to the next page, if you have anything to add.
All right, so I wanted to go back to the aid a little bit. Then I will come to this because I said the aid has advantages and disadvantages, and I gave like the advantages. So the disadvantage for the aid, the government is caught. Every country is caught with their pants down. It's almost looking like when you leaving, so when you renting somebody house before you leave, they always ask that you tell them time ahead before you leave. So in Liberia, why our budget is not directly affected by foreign aid, but it's indirectly affected by foreign aid. Because from my understanding, I call what we call the shadow budget, right? So every country that has some level of foreign aid, they got a shadow budget. So Liberia budget is now forecast based on how much money coming in from usage and stuff like that, right? But Liberia budget, will not allocate sufficient amount of money to health, education, and agriculture because they know that users will be coming in with almost money available for more than what almost 50% if they allocate like, let's say they allocate like 50 million in the budget for health, right? User will be spending almost 30 million on that money. So for that reason, they will not allocate 50 million in the budget for health because they know they're not going to get 50 million based on our budget forecast. They will allocate like 20 million for health. So that additional money that is going in the health sector for medication, like paying some professional people and stuff like that, it counts for usage. But Liberia is not capturing that into the overall budget. So that's why I consider it like a shadow budget. So that why all the aid where all the aid function within the Liberian economy. So what happened? Donald Trump has called aid abruptly. The country had not planned for those abrupt cut in aid. So it means that every sector that use it contribute towards that sector going to suffer because Liberia had not planned to cover that particular sector within the Liberian budget. Because you talk about the deficit, in Liberia we're planning for all the money that users spend on education and agriculture and health. Liberia deficit would be more than pretty close to 200, would be more than 200 million with their current budget. But because they are not taking all those money that users spend for the three major sectors, we say education, health, and agriculture. So that's why you see Liberia is not having a budget deficit because of those shadow budget. So right now we say we need to have like a screen line of our asset. You just give the pay. But if you look at that same budget line, they got something like goods and services, 200,000. So if you add that 300,000 plus 200,000, and that's goods and services, that's what just cover all those trash cars, all those things. It's like, well, 500 and something, if 500 plus that, 500 and some more thousand data. So how much leave for development is pretty close to 65 to 80% of your budget is just overhead and what we call recurring expense. Those are money that you're going to be spending every year in year, or no matter who come to play, those are money you're going to be spending. So those are recurring expense. So if you spend like pretty close to 65 to 75% of your budget on recurring expense, you left with nothing but development. And that's what we see, that's why Liberia cannot develop. That's why my brother said, that's what Eamon said, we have to have some extraordinary measure put into place where our budget can represent what the current economic status of Liberia is looking. Nigeria is bigger than us. Nigeria GDP is better than us. Ghana GDP is better than us. But you know that people get paid in Liberia more than people in Nigeria, more than people in Ghana. Well, why is that? And their economy is doing better than us. So why are we paying people more than country that is doing far more better than us? And we expect our country to develop, and we expect our country to grow, and we expect to take care of ourselves. It's not going to happen.
Well, so that comes to check and balance, right?
Let me just because one of the reasons I was talking about our budget is if you look under the budget item, one of the budget item line, our Liberian government depends on grant. It's injected in their budget. Okay, that's like me making my monthly budget for my house and say, hey, I'm waiting for Steve. Steve will give me $1,000. Something that I'm not sure of, right? Because I don't know where Steve's going to get the money from. I don't know where he's going to be willing to give me that money at that time. But it's always, and I've always followed Liberian budget every year. I think 2024 grant they were expecting was $111 million. Can you imagine? You take $111 million grant you're expecting for somebody to give you to feed your country, to take care of your child in your home. Think about it. You in your home, You waiting for me to come. You make your monthly budget or your yearly budget. You say, this is 2025. I'm making my budget for the year. Let me see. You know what? Rent. I should pay 1,500 for rent, but I would put $250. Maybe I would get grant from Steve or Emmanuel or somebody else to occupy that. I mean, what sense does that make? I'm not saying it's bad to receive grant, but it's not a reliable source because anything could happen, any disaster could happen, and whoever you're expecting that grant from will say, you know what, I got to take care of my own, and that's what Donald Trump is doing right now. He's saying, look, I got to take care of my own, and you take care of your own, right? So we shouldn't be, in my opinion, I should not be making my budget and saying, oh, I will let me America. Some people say, oh, I think I'll make accident this year so I can get some insurance money. I can get some insurance money or some crazy things. Tell me that is not reliable. If Liberia is going to make a budget, let her make a budget based on her tangible or revenue that she's going to generate. It shouldn't be based on grants, USAID aid, and all these different things. If those things come, that is a surplus. It's like me. If I'm sitting here and I make my budget for the year, and Steve feel happy and say, hey, man, look, if this is your birthday, come, let me give you $1,000. That is a plus. It will have no impact on me. But if I'm building my budget and have these things inside that if they don't come there, I can't operate, that is a sad situation, in my opinion.
Steven, let me just make a correction right there, right? So budget, so we need to understand, budget are that fact. Budget are that something that will make to be accurate, right? Budget is a forecast. So most of the time when you see grant in government budget, it's not grant that they say, oh, maybe. It's not maybe. Those are grant that have been talked about, have been approved. When you say uncertainty happen, when uncertainty do happen, government do forecast their budget. But this grant that is included in the budget is not something like, oh, we hope. No. If grant, that's what you see, USAID and things, they don't put it in the budget. But grant is something that the government had already arranged. Like you say, you're doing a business and you go to the bank, the credit loan, and your loan has been approved, and you're making your business plan. You're going to put that loan in it. Although the loan has been approved, the bank can come out and say, financial crisis happy, and we cannot give you the loan again. But that does not mean you will not put that loan in your business plan, in your business budget. Budget is all about estimate. So grant is necessary to go in the budget because I think have been discussed with the grant with the funding partner. Yes, that will give you this grant in this way. So yeah, so that's where it's captured in the budget because the country have to account for that in that budget. It's not like an A and stuff like that. So that's what grant is always in the budget if the government is taking grant and stuff like that. So because the budget is based on forecast and they are just forecasting all the money that they think is supposed to be having. So it's not that grant should not be in the budget.
All right. So great correction and great point of view. But let me go over what I kind of put together. I see people posting their comments. We can also start talking about responding to people's comments as well. So basically, I wanted to look at the budget in totality and see some of the things that the government plans to spend on. But if you look, we have something called transparency and accountability. That is about 24 million, right? My question would be is what transparency and what accountability that we are paying for? Well, what is the department that is handling this 24 million? Is it security apparatus? Is it, I'm trying to understand what this kind of money is going towards, right? If this is security and transparency and accountability, right? Then you look at the educational sector. You can look here and say, all right, the Bwaka administration is increasing their spending on education, but over time this funding is dropping, right? So it's a good thing that it increased in 2025, but over time, as you can look, the budget it dropped. And then one other thing that caught my attention here, basically was let me see. I think I highlighted them. So agriculture here is 15 million. So if you look at agriculture, that the president said this is going to be my goal, and you look at transparency and accountability, right? The two things, like, are they spending more to make sure that people to prevent corruption, to do all these things, than spending money on the things that are required to make people to have jobs and things like that? So me thinking it will cost more, even the yellow truck that the president had ordered. Just in my yellow trucks you order, that will cover this 15 million because one of the trucks are like 500,000, right? So if you're buying 10 to 15 yellow trucks and it's 500,000, basically the 15 million you're allocating for agriculture is already done, right? And you have 27 million for accountability and transparency. I'll let you guys add on to that quick, then I will go to you were talking about USAID and all the stuff. I got something good in store for you. You just finish this one little slide for me, then we'll go to USAID and all the places aid coming from.
You see, Stevie, Stevie, you see, when we look at the numbers that they always put to these places, to put these numbers there is not a bad thing, but are they being used for the intended purpose? Because they were the problem we always have, right? Let's look at the transparency and accountability sector. We know for the past 20 years, barely any government official that people have accused of, some financial malpractice or even let's say stealing from government, they have not done anything to most of them. I can't remember the last time any key figure that was accused of corruption, besides some of them losing their speakership or other stuff, nothing. So I don't know why you'll be spending that money every year and we can't see anything happening. Because even this new government, from the inception, we started hearing about this person stole this amount of money, this person misused this money, the person misused that money, and nobody was fired, nobody was even questioned, and there's still cloud hanging over them. So I don't think if we're not using it, because LSCC, if anything, from what I know, that's why LSCC was created when LSCC did, to create these transparency and accountability people to make sure the Liberian government finances are being used for the intended purposes. But it is not. So they just allocate these money to places and the people are not benefiting from it. But you see it, they say, oh, we allocated this to this place. It's like somebody it's like me going to work and telling my family, look, I make $10,000. Okay, but they can't see what I'm doing at $10,000. Every day I come with an excuse. Yeah, I made $10,000, but they can't find food to eat. They can't find anything to do. All right, because this is the 2024 budget, right?
No, this is, if you look at it, is from 2023, right? It starts from fiscal year.
The actual one
so the 2025 is that's the actual 2025 budget, but this is a summary, right, of past and present.
So if you look at projected budget. Let's look at education. Okay, let's look at 2024 because we're in 2025. They used 86,347,000. What have changed? What can we point to? What tangible can we point to in education that have changed? Any little change that we have seen to say, okay, this allocation, I know compensation have to come from there and all that stuff, but we have not seen any project that we can really point to for last year, from 2024. Even the we are government, they spent 111,000. I know we heard about WASEC, they were paying and all that stuff. But just recently, the other government during the annual speech, they said they had to pay some area for the WASEC. So where are they using this money? Mm-hmm. So it's good to put in the budget, but let them use it for the intended purpose. That's how I see it.
So maybe the transparency money is important. Abednego, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say they got like a lot of transparency money is very important. They got like a lot of sector like the GSC, the FIB, the corruption, the good government, the good governance commission. These sectors are important. It's not every sector you see the work that will be done. Like I stated earlier, right? So if our budget 75 to 85% overhead expense, recurring expense, there are no significant development that we can see if only 20 to 25% is going towards development. Because development is something most of the time is tangible. It's not like intangible thing, right? So for our educational sector to see like development taking place in our education sector, we are talking about things that the Liberian education sector budget should be at least 300 to 500 million for you to see real general development taking place in your education sector. If your education budget is 112 million, 85% of that is overhead expense. What genuine reform can you see for it to take place in your education sector? Because money, most of the money is money, like I we we doing for almost like what we talk about the use of foreign aid, right? And my brother spoke about that. You don't see significant impact of these foreign aid because, for example, we get one current example of stuff that just happened, right? When Idamos canceled the 17 million for tax policy advisor to Liberia, tax policy advisory to Liberia. So listen now, U.S. government is spending 17 million for tax policy advisory to Liberia. The overall Department for Revenue and Development, their overall budget is about 20 million. And USAID tell you said they're spending 17 million just for tax policy and advisory. How many persons will go advise Liberia on tax policy, which USAID is spending 17 million? How many, what kind of significant impact you will see for tax policy advisory for that 17 million? If over 1 year, people say we have spent 17 million for tax policy and advisory, what impact are you going to see in the Liberian tax system to say USAID spent 17 million for tax policy and advisory to Liberia Ministry of Finance and Revenue and stuff like that? You're not going to see anything tangible for that money, and that's how the Liberian budget is. Because that money, because most of our budget is going to overhead, we're not going to see anything substantial for development in Liberia. I don't care how long we stay, how long we're doing the same thing over and over and expect change to happen. That's not going to change. Our budget proportionally has to shift. Development has to have more money. Overhead has to have less money. When overhead continue to have more money and development continue to have less money, we're not going to see any major development. That's why I tell you in the beginning, like Liberia budget operate on a shadow budget. And those shadow budget is what we see from the USAID building schools, the European Union helping the electricity sector. Those are all shadow budget that Liberia, that expenditure that going within the Liberian economy that we're not really seeing and stuff like that. So those are the shadow budget that take a lot of development aspect of Liberia. Those are all shadow budget. Our budget do not account for.
So
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Let me ask the brother one question, because I mean, I don't want to focus on the developmental part because I know that is not going to happen anytime soon. However, if the budget is merely beneficial for compensation or overhead, why is it for the Ministry of Education or health education sector we still have a lot of teachers, and those are the overhead? That is something that is constant. Every year you must pay salary, you must pay this. Why do we still owe teachers every year? If we are really focusing on overhead, we don't
answer that question right here.
If we don't see development, if we can't see development, we should see our people being paid. So if they are ready, and that's what I'm saying, because that's my point I'm making, that the money is good to see on the paper, but it should be used for the intended purpose. But if they are looking at, like your explanation states, that they are focusing on the overhead, why do we still have a lot of area for civil servants? And even the military too, they have the same issue.
Yeah, I think in recent time, the way we used to see the increase in area and stuff like that, I don't think we're seeing it again. If people have been on area, maybe they're hiring like maybe administrative power and maybe their name has not gone through the payroll. But I think that's one of the things the Liberian government has improved on, hiring like salary area and stuff like that. It would just be because of processing purpose. But government, I cannot tell you saying in the current sense that government owing people 2-3 months. Maybe it will be 1 month. Like what we see before. It's not something that constantly happening again when it comes to salary area. I think government have been current on that.
Mr. Mayor sounding like he's on a government agent here, so I think I'm not gonna call him to the show again.
I'm not government agent, but what the truth is, we are here though. You like to our people, right? So we should say what is happening and what is not happening. We cannot be like a blind loyalty when we fire the country and fire the economy of the country.
So I went to Liberia when I was at the Foreign Affairs Ministry, right? And everybody was complaining their salary hasn't come yet. And that was when we are administration. So
that's why I said, how long?
Yeah, no, that was during we are administration. So maybe Bouaka have fixed that problem. So I haven't been in Liberia since President Bouaka been in office. So I can't say anything about the Barker administration if the money is being spent correctly. But when I was there in the We Are administration, I heard people say since this February I haven't got paid, and I was there in I think I was there in May, right? So somebody was saying since February they haven't got paid, and they weren't asking me for money. These guys were having discussions, right, on the side, and we were passing, and I overheard them talking about it. You understand? So, but again, great discussion. Mr. Mannion, I gotta check your profile to see whether you read it, not government agent, but I will hold you on here for now. Let's look at what you guys were saying, and you guys been jumping ahead into my presentation, which I don't like, but I like anyway. If you're talking about look at here, administrative cost 29 million. And then Caroline, maybe you can call in to help me explain this. When you do your health fair, when you do your stuff in Liberia, you ask for donation from us here in America, and you carry these boxes. When you carry these boxes to Liberia, maybe you help a hospital, you give them gloves, you give them something. But the USAID or the United States government foreign assistance is saying that it spend 61 million a year on health and population. So for my question to Caroline, I know you're not on here, maybe you can answer on the side, or you can call in to actually answer this question. Do you really think that $61 million is going towards healthcare? Then Liberia should have one of the best healthcare system in Africa. For $61 million to be spent, and people don't have gloves at JFK, people don't have anything. Where is this $61 million going? It's not going to Sepacon, or it's not going to River Cells, or it's not going to Grand G there. You understand? Where is this $61 million that the U.S. foreign assistance is being spent on? Where is it going? I will ask you guys that question, and then I will put a number on here. Maybe Caroline can call in if she can, or anybody else can call in. Maybe somebody have that answer for me, but 61 million and then 29 million on administrative costs. And then they say they sent 29 million on education, and then $7 million go to other stuff. I will go further, but I will let you guys chime in. Then I can bring up the other slides that I got. Mr. Sapolosi at first before I bring the government agent in.
So Steve, so let us look. I'm in the healthcare because I always go to Liberia. They were my focus all the time when I go to Liberia and go from this hospital to hospital to see what's going on. You see, from what I see, and again, it will come back to managing our resources based on who we are. Looking at our country, we cannot tackle everything, right? And these things, what we need to do is be strategic in solving our problem. So if I was this person receiving, if I was receiving, and if the Liberian government is receiving, I'm using if because I don't know whether they're actually giving the money to the Liberian government or they themselves doing it. And that's why I don't like to rely on this foreign aid, because every time, from what I have known in Liberia, every time you hear foreign aid, they send the money and the people come and they take the same money and bring it right back, and they say that's the money they give your country, and that's how it works. But let's say, look at Liberia. If $61 million is going to Liberia, we need to strategize on how we use this money and for the citizen to see. For example, I will look at JFK. Since JFK is the main reference hospital, referral hospital in Liberia, tackle JFK problem, solve it in the first 2-3 years. Bring JFK into some standard that everybody can see and benefit from. From there, in the because Monrovia is the most popular area, you go to Redemption, do the same. And then the following year, maybe go to Bangai, do the Phoebe. And then the following year. So if we had done those things in the last 20 years, we may have had some kind of good healthcare system. And we could do the same with education system as well. But JFK was built in the 60s. I was at JFK one day while sitting there talking to the nurse manager over there. We were discussing some issues, and the ceiling fell from at the top where you go into JFK to right after the emergency room. There's an open space that's all the way up, so you can see outside, right? So the stuff fell. Luckily for us, nobody was right directly under it, But and this is something that, and I want us to look at this. In the last 20 years, what have happened in Liberia? In the last 20 years, all of the old infrastructure have not been renovated or restructured or whatever. But in the last 20 years, we got a certain group of people that have built multi-million dollar houses in Liberia. And there are many people from those who have been elected as government, I mean, or representative or lawmakers, or people who have been appointed to positions. So that tells me that we are not focusing on developing the country. We are focusing on developing the few people. If you look at most of our millionaires in Liberia,
Oh, listen, I mean,
99% of their working government. That is not
I want you to talk about the USAID 61 million. Don't go to our government official right now.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's difficult for you. It will be difficult for anybody to explain the 61 million dollars. The reason I don't rely on the foreign aid is because most of the time they send the money and they send people behind it. And I saw that during the war when I was in Liberia. Every time they send the money, they send people behind it to use the money. So I don't like to dwell on it because it's not, to me, it doesn't benefit the country. That's my opinion. Because I have not seen in the last 40 years, I have not seen any foreign aid that have come to Liberia and say, okay, this is what the Reddit did for the $200 million or the $1 billion, because they send people to take us 75% of that money back.
So you think Elon Musk or the Trump administration is correct for what they are doing to hold that money, to make sure that they know where the money is going? You think that's a good policy from the U.S. government right now?
I think it's yes, and it's not because I'm against the Liberian people, but I think it's the best thing for now, so that we can recalibrate our trend of thinking and how we can approach our developmental process. Because we cannot continue to rely on people. I mean, with hundreds or some more years, and we're living on foreign aid. Foreign aid have not developed Liberia. I'm telling you. And if we cannot get away from it, we're not going to get developed. Look at what a trend is that is taking place in Burkina Faso right now. If the videos and the stuff that we see on YouTube and other news media is accurate, Burkina Faso will pass Liberia in the next 5-10 years. They'll be way ahead of us if all those informations are true. So because they have dialed back and said, you know what, let us focus. Because Thomas Sankara had the same idea a while back. Let us focus on developing the country. And then later on, when the country is more flourished, then everybody can live the flamboyant life. But we're suffering. The people living flamboyant life.
Hold your thought quickly. We got a caller. He said he's almost at work. Let him get his thought, and then he can come back in. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much for the show. Yeah, I listened to the contrast between our brother over there and Sapolis and Ema and Sapolis. And I kind of side a little bit with Sapolis because the brother said forecasting to the budget. Grants like student grants in America, you have to qualify. You got to have some either athletic ability or, I mean, I'm thinking from a student point of view. I don't know how it works in Kenya, but when you look at the grants in Liberia, the grants you receive, you have to go through extreme measure to get it. You either got to be like an A student or have some athletic ability. Now let's come to the political point of it. Look at the last compact grant I was getting. See how much the score costs. You have to pass certain things before you get that grant. Grant is not loan. You pay loan back. Grant, you don't pay it back. So how can you forecast something in your budget? You don't even know it's going to qualify. You know how much job we have still in our scorecard before you didn't even get it. Recently they gave it to Joseph Boyka. So I disagree. I don't know how they do that. Forecasting your grant into your budget when you don't even know. I mean, you have to go through the message. You don't know you have to qualify for it. So I would agree with Sapolete when he said you don't know if you're gonna get it. So you can't put something in your budget that you don't know if you qualify. So that's just my contribution. I think grant should not be forecasted into budget because you have to qualify for it. There's so much thing you have to do to get grants. So yeah, thank you very much for having me, guys.
All right, so
yeah.
I would let Emmanuel respond.
Let me respond to our brother. So we saying the right thing, but he understanding it in a different way, right? So those grants that are projected in the budget, those are grants that Liberia already qualified for. Liberia is now putting the MCC compact grant into the budget because they don't have it. But if Liberia write their development agenda and send it to the MCC compact, and the MCC compact say, all right, we sign off this, you guys gonna get the money next year, they will put that money into the next budget because those money have already been signed off on. Liberia has already, all the bases have been cleared, and Liberia has been giving the okay that they were going to receive the money. That's how that money will enter into the budget. But Liberia, any grant that you see in the budget, those are money that has already been approved. Those are not money that Liberia is applying for and with the hope that they will get it. Those are grants that have already been approved, like he said, with the student grant. You have to be approved of those money before the government incorporate into the budget. So the government is not incorporating money that they're hoping to get. No, but money that have been approved for them to get. That's what they incorporate into the budget.
All right.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
Rosa,
Yeah.
I think the man
Yeah,
answer
we
your
follow.
question.
Yeah. I mean, you answered the question, but yeah, I still got a little
All right.
reservation. But anyway, yeah, I will still be following.
All right. So thank you for calling in. So guys, Sapolosa, please. I mean, we got 6 minutes, and let me just finish this slash quick because this is important for our viewers to see. Then you can come in. But look at this, right? This was during Ellen Johnson time. The U.S. government gave, and everybody been talking it. I never knew it was true. But $155 million was given to Ellen Johnson. But then after Ellen Johnson leave government, you see how the aid dropped. Right now it's at 100. I think it's at $100 million. It's $100 million, not $155 million. So imagine this: all this money that was coming to Liberia, and we didn't take advantage of it. This money could have rebuilt some of our schools. It could have rebuilt some of our hospitals, but up to today, if you were to ask somebody to give account of this 155 million that the U.S. kind of just threw on Liberia when Ellen was in office, nobody can tell that. And I want to show you guys something quickly. If you look at the budget of Liberia, right? Benigo, you're talking about the aid that the Liberia include grants in their stuff, right? But USAID, if you look at that document that I shared, it said USAID actually gave this amount to Liberia, right? But the Liberian government do not even include that in this other list. I see USAID here. Maybe they're referring it to it as something different, but USAID is not on this list, right? So some of the money that is being allocated is not being put on here. I don't know what is the budget line item for this, but I don't see it on here and this is for 2025. You understand? Now, my thing was like even Liberia right now, the U.S. is giving $150 million again to the Bwaka administration. So he's $5 million short, right? It says he's $5 million short. So between you and myself on this page, we don't know if that money is something that they say, Liberia, this is $150 million for you. Use it however you want to use it. Or Liberia, we are allocating 10 engineers to come to Liberia. Those 10 engineers will make 100,000 each. And this is what they will be coming to do. Everything is every time they sit down to talk with you, they get paid $300 an hour, or they get paid $100 an hour. Their hotel cost is $50 million, is $100 per night. We will subtract all this money from that $150 million we're giving you, and this is what you're gonna have to use for your development. I don't know how this money is allocated. So, can we say that we are being biased if we just say Liberia get this $150 million, or should we be skeptical when we see these money out here on the U.S. foreign aid website and they say giving Liberia 150 million? Should we then ask the question, when you say you're paying for healthcare, 61 million for healthcare, where is that money going? Is anybody in the government asking this question, or is anybody in the public here asking this question? Where is that 61 million going? So I will let you guys go over that. Let me respond. Yeah.
So let me just come in when it comes to the foreign aid, right? So let me just give a little history of the foreign aid. So before, when foreign aid used to be given to a country, most of the time it used to be given direct to the country for the country to spend on what the foreign aid was intended for. But as time go by, international donors start seeing that money was being misused, and African leader was getting rich of their money. So they decide, like, we're not going to give you our money directly again that we used to do. When we send our money, we'll send supervisors to go and to implement our project for that, for what we want our money to be used on. So project implementation of this money comes like sometimes 2 stages, sometimes 3 stages. So for example, America would say, like you talk about the 165 million. They will give 65 million. USA will say 65 million for Liberia. If USA have an office that they're paying for, and USA have 20 staff or 100 staff, they're paying all of them of that 65 million. Their overhead expenditure is coming from that 65 million that is allocated for Liberia office. Because that 65 million is going to Liberia, so it's allocated for Liberia office. Then you say ACL is not doing the work, but it's supervising the work. So all the people that is working on that project from America, we call it expat or international workers that will be on that 65 million, all of them pay coming from that. Then we got the implementation partner. So a local NGO or international NGO that is specified, that is specialized in specific thing, they're going to take some of that money for them. Let us say health. They're going to have either an international NGO or local NGO. Sometimes it goes directly to an international NGO because maybe a local NGO may not be specified in that project, right? So international NGO will take out all their own overhead, all their own expense for in that same money. Then go to the direct implementation partner, which is the people that are paying. Then the people have to take all their own overhead expenditure from in that same money. Then maybe if they are giving $100 for the buy copy book for education to buy copy book, that $100 you might only $10 or $15 will go to what actually buying that copy book because it has passed through all these many stages. But at the end of the day, they're going to tell you, say we send $100 for copy book for education, but only $15 directly going to go on that copy book money. So that's how international aid being spent in Liberia. And because it's not the government money, the government cannot chastise people and ask them how they use their money. Because, like I said, every ministry have a shadow budget. Because if the government were to spend their own money on that copy book, the government are going to account for it in that budget. And because the government have other priorities, so the government cannot spend that money for that copy book. So now, user is spending the money for that copy book, although only $15 is being spent, or the $100 they give user to buy that copy book, only $15 is being spent. And the government cannot order you, or they cannot chastise you, say, why are you sending the $100 and you paying your own people $50 and the other people taking $25 and the transportation there is $10, only $15. So it cannot be accounted for, because if the government chastise user say if you want to do on your own, then do on your own. And the Liberian government doesn't have the money to do it on their own. That's why you see all these agencies and ministry have a shadow budget that I talk about, that those budgets go through as international aid to the country.
Mr. Sapolosi, I see you smiling down there. When you're smiling, that means you got something clandestine to say or something to say.
No, he just proved the points that I'm making. That the aids that we are calling aids and whatever going to Liberia is not benefiting the people. It's benefiting the donors, right? Because, and like I said earlier, the money goes, but 75% come back. And I know if you hear about this stuff, talk about Ukraine, the Israel and stuff. If you follow that money, most of that money is coming right back to America. But America said, I sent $2 billion to Ukraine. I sent this amount. That's how it works. It really don't benefit the people unless you said. I remember I read an article in Ghana where they were trying to go and give some. They wanted to donate money that they do in Liberia, but the Ghanaian government said, "Look, if you want to have this project in Liberia, in Ghana, we don't mind. But the only person you're going to bring is one. You're not going to bring a lot of people. The one person you're going to bring will be your representative to come, but every other person will be Ghanaian, right? And yes, at one point they had to go back and forth, but at the end of the day, that one staff, as the representative from that organization, went to Ghana, and every other person were employed by Ghana or were Ghanaians. And that organization, the project they carry, the money was well spent in Ghana. We need to start looking at some of these things. And let us not forget, these grant and stuff we hear about, these organizations need them as well. They need us, they need to say to spend that money to Liberia, they spend that money elsewhere. So if we don't have a strategy in approaching that, we're always going to be the victim. Because they're going to tell us that they spend, in a year, this year we spend this amount of billions of dollars in Liberia, and they are getting nowhere. But what they're not telling us, or they're not telling the rest of the world, is we took most of that money back. Case in point, if you go and donate to charity, you know that all the charity funding, only mostly 5 to 10% are used on the actual cost of the charity. That's how it works in America. Okay, and that's the same strategy they're using on us back home, but we're not paying attention to it.
So guys, help me understand this thing that I have posted here, right? I think you guys answering the question, but maybe this will help you clarify, right? I've highlighted some stuff here. So some of them, if you see them have the same color, it's kind of like me wondering if it's the same thing or if it's so let's look at this, right? Ask me if I'm looking at this document as the Liberian government or anybody, even the Doge that we have in the US right now, right? You have here you have USAID 113 million for US government, US Agency for International Development. Isn't this the same USAID, right? If you look here though, it says 30 million goes to US Agency for International Development, but then look on the same document, there's a $29 million somewhere here that says operating expense, right? So if this operating expense, does it go back to USAID? Since USAID is the same people that are giving us this money, so you now have 13 million plus $12 million, right? Out of that $100 million already, $150 million. Then you have something that says government and civil society, right? Then you come back up here again, you see other things that says government of Liberia. So what's the difference between government and civil society and government of Liberia? Is that two different entities that the money is going to? The government and civil society, and then you also have government of Liberia. You know, then you come back here again, you have faith-based organization, faith-based education. So the USAID is spending $9 million towards teaching us how to be Christians. Is it going towards the Catholic churches, or which churches is it going to? Or what are we spending $9 million on for charity or for churches, right? And then you look in here, you see multiple things that says education. So you just help me understand. I went to school during the war in Liberia, so maybe my learning was not correct, right? But you who probably went to school, Sapolosia went through United States education through the army, so maybe your education is a little different. But you help me understand what you see on here. If you are somebody that is auditing this document, what would be your take to say what is a duplicate of terms? Is this really helping people that is supposed to help?
So I think you got at the top, you say top activities, top partners, and top sectors. Right? So the top activities are just those things that they're referring to what's going on there, like malaria, like the civil society activity. And then the partnership, I think the USAID is what they're partnering with here, the government and USAID are partnering in that area, RTI International and whoever the other entities are. And wherever the website you took this from, maybe that organization, whatever money they're spending will be partnering with these people. That's what I'm looking at when I'm seeing this. Okay. And then the sector they are focusing on is healthcare, is wherever the operating, maybe the operating expense for their healthcare or whatever I can't really dissect this and tell you what it means because I don't know where it's from, because there has to be a detailed explanation of what's going on here. But to just look at this and tell you I will be able to explain the audit this, I don't think so. I would not be. Maybe the economists can do that. I mean, I'm a laboratory science person.
Now you're running away from.
Yeah.
All right, so there you go, him. Mr. Man, help me here. I mean, I understand, but the money, they're not saying, okay, the top sector and stuff, this money is like allocated differently, right? Like our partners we partner with, we're spending this amount of money, except you're telling me if we sit down here and do the math on from the left to the right, if everything add up to the same 150 million, then I can understand that they are breaking it down in different way. But from what I'm seeing here, this money doesn't look like it's being allocated per activity. If it's a top activity, it's being allocated differently on these each category of these things. But again, I could be wrong, but I'm going to sit down and do the calculation to see if these three columns add up to $150 million, then that means the money is being split up based on these things. But if just giving an eyeball view, this doesn't look like it's separate. It's the same thing. You understand? But my concern here is Abeningo or Mr. Sapolosia is just looking at the Mercy Cup, looking at Enterprise, right? It said Enterprise United States redacted, right? So there's a entity that was giving $6 million, but this information is hidden. It cannot be shown on here, right? Maybe it's the CIA, maybe it's the FBI, so they can put that one on the document here. But if you look at the actual image that I showed you earlier, I can go back to that. They show some blank places here that the money went to, and some of them the organizations are not shown. So I'm not saying I'm happy that this decision was made, right, by the Trump administration, that they will start sending money to Liberia. But I'm happy that there's a department for efficiency, even in the United States now, that is asking questions. Say, when we send money somewhere, is it really impacting the people that money is being spent on? Or like Abeningo explained, that when we send $100 for buying capable in Liberia, $90 of that $100 go to the person that carrying the money, and $10 go to buying capable. So the money will just stop in West Point, right? It will not even go to Sepacon. And my advocacy on here is for something to be able to reach to Sepacon someday. That little village in the corner of Liberia that nobody has stepped in. I hope that these money, when these funds are allocated, that it can go to those places someday, instead of all this money being on paper. Like poor Caroline here, she going to ship boxes of gloves to Liberia today because our hospitals don't have gloves. All the gloves are so expensive that the nurses and people that do work in those hospitals, they cannot afford to buy gloves. But the U.S. government is saying they sent us $61 million. Abeningo, I know you're waiting, but go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so I think my thought process with that thing, there's a source document, and all that breakdown should be added, should cover that total $155 million based on the source document. It just telling you like the different partner and how the money will contribute and distribute it. But everything should add up to that 155 million if that's the original source document for that, for all those expenditures. So everything should be able to add up. Maybe some money will be intertwined based on how it was spent, but all the money should be able to add up based on that source document. But I'm not really seeing the source document, so I cannot be definite about that.
I actually copied the website. I'm going to post it here for you guys to view. But something is saying here, unspecified vendors, right? Even the United States government website, this is a United States government website saying unspecified vendors. Who are those unspecified vendors that this money is going to, right? I think if I'm in the government of Liberia and you claim me to send me $150 million to help my people, you're saying you're focusing on education, you spend $61 million on healthcare, whereby our big hospital here don't even have the medication or anything. Somebody in the Liberian government should be asking, even the U.S. government, like you're saying, when we open our mouth, maybe USAID will say we're not coming to Liberia again, but somebody should be questioning the USAID or where this money is coming from to say, hey, you say you sent us $61 million, or you're paying $61 million for healthcare or for healthcare. Where is this money going? Right? We have a director of health. This guy from JFK, he come to America, and people organize events for him to raise funds to just get medication, to get other things. Then you're telling me, and they are, the government, I think they have allocated $5 million or something. Like the last time we are allocated maybe $5 million or 500,000 for JFK. That was what it was allocated. But then you are saying you're spending $61 million, whereby the country itself budget is 500,000 for their health care. You understand? Going back to the beginning of this, that's where you guys said that we should focus on creating our own sectors or funding our own sectors. But my question here is, since we are talking about foreign aid and this 61 million is stopping, right? Eventually, that 61 million will not be coming to Liberia again. But the question here is, when that money was allocated, was it really used for the intended purpose? And I think we can say anything about Elon Musk, but this thing he started, it behooves us as a people to start asking the right questions. Because if we do not ask these questions, somebody is getting rich, somebody is paying for their house in America here, while our people need clean drinking water. If you look on here, we got sanitation, 6 million, 9 million were paid for sanitation and water. That money never came to Liberia.
Yeah, Stevie. So like our brother Eman said, right? So for you to be hiring a boom or stay in a specific thing, you need to come with certain transparency and stuff like that. Like our brother said in a situation that he talked about Ghana. Ghana was only able to demand that level of transparency and make that demand that one professional should come because Ghana had proven that their government is transparent and the money will be used for the intended purpose. It's almost looking like Stevie, I say I come into you and I bring in someone saying you're having problem and I bring in someone $3 million to you, then you tell me, say, the last money I sent there, the 3 million I sent there, you never really did anything good, but I come here, I bring in 3 million, but I have to charter a plane because I got another meeting to go to. And you tell me, say, my man, Ed Moran also coming here. Why can you use Ed Moran and you'll save enough money? I tell you, it's my money. The first money I say you couldn't account for it good. And I tell you, so I got another business meeting to go to, so I have to catch up a plane for that 3 million. I have to ride a private jet to come to you. So you will not be able to dictate to me because in the best scenario, I can tell you, say, all right, if you want to dictate to me how the money should be spent, I can hold on my money and you will look for the 3 million elsewhere, say you want to dictate to me, but you're not managing the money I send you, but you want to dictate to me. So that would be the type of situation. But if you manage that money well and have an impact, you can tell me, say, Ben, I take that 3 million, that private jet, we can hold on. You can come with a regular plane because our people are dying from so disease. That extra money is spending on that private plane. It will help our people to carry forward our project because the money is sent is how far I go with the project. So you will have a standing in how the money is used. But if you're not transparent, you cannot fully be accountable. You're not going to have a standing in how the money is going to be used. And that's what Liberia is. Like I gave you a practical example. When the British government was trying to send the immigrant to Uganda, they gave Paul Igari the money. They never had to spend. They never had to send people there to supervise the money and thing. He said they calculated the money. There was a budget. They take all the money and put it in your hand. And guess what? You told them, if your parliament said that people should not come, I will send your money back to y'all. Just money during Eddie Johnson time, a Nigerian man was arrested with money. They go ask the man for the money the next day. I think what the justice minister said they use the money for something else. The man had to become a representative in Nigeria and sue Liberia to the ECOWAS court for the man to get his money back.
Yeah.
You can't arrest somebody with money that's all to be FOC. In less than 1 week, the government using the person money.
What's why the drug one, the guy who they arrested with the drugs and they arrested his money and everything before they could go to justice ministry, they can't find him.
That's the same money I talk about. That's the same money I talk about. Yeah, do it anytime. The same money I talk about. Yeah, the justice ministry said they already used the money.
They can't find the money. You arrested the man with drugs and money. You take the man money and the drugs as evidence, and then they go back. You can't find the money. No evidence, no crime committed. So they had to release the people.
Again, so guys, we out of time. I have an appointment in like 20 minutes. So I will let you guys say a closing statement. Like, this is a painful discussion, but I want you to put yourself in the shoes of that little girl that don't have medication. I want you to put yourself in the shoes of that old man in that little village that have never that is not able to afford rice anymore because she don't have her children or she don't have any source of income, right? And look at this amount of money that is being sent to our country and it's not going anywhere. I just want you to talk to both the U.S. Government and the Liberian government from any perspective, speak from your heart, and let's wrap this show up, because the problem is from both sides, right? Um, I will let you guys go, and then I'll end the show. Mr. Sapulosi, I can go first.
Yeah, no problem. So this is what I would look at it from this angle. I would think what we need to do as Liberians is, if we need to, let the Liberian government collaborate with its citizens that are in the diaspora. Let us design strategies that can mitigate some of these problems. Because we all know, and I experienced this in Liberia when the war was fighting. When the war was fighting, we're there, and when the war ceased, we're there. And we know that most of the so-called money that are being sent to our country, most of it are taken back out of there, right? The guy tell you spend 10 million and he take 9 million back, and the 1 million cannot be used for anything, because then when that $1 million drop, then those are on the ground divide among themselves. And then if it was intended to build a school, the school is never built. If it was intended to work in the on the healthcare sector, is not working. So what I think we can do as Liberians is start cutting down some of the expenses that we have, allocate those money to where it will impact the Liberians, the most vulnerable among us, to work on how we can rebuild JFK, the redemption hospital that Ellen Johnson started. I don't know how far that one is, to see how we can finish that up, so that our Liberian citizens can have at least some kind of life that they can have hope to live, right? Because right now, this foreign aid thing, in my opinion, have made Liberian government not to be responsible. And you cannot hold the international community accountable for your own mistakes. America is not responsible for the Liberian citizen. It is the Liberian government that is responsible for the Liberian citizen. So if America is stopping aid, it should not have any impact on your budget. That is why you need to streamline your budget, itemize it, find ways to save money. And this is what I would recommend to the Liberian government to avoid this foreign aid stuff. Right now, activate GSA. Have a GSA garage. Also, employ Liberians to work in a garage where all Liberian government vehicles will be turned over Friday evening. They work on it on Saturday, Sunday, Monday morning. The drivers will pick it up and go pick up their buses. That's another cost we can save, and that money can be redirected to either healthcare, education, the scratch card. Give a limit, the gas, give a limit, so that no money can be redirected. If we manage the resources we have and not spending more money than we are making, it doesn't, to me, it doesn't make sense. It's insanity. Kenya GDP the last time I did a research, it was $40 billion. They don't even pay their lawmakers. Their speaker makes less than $200,000 a year. In Liberia, we're doing the opposite. Why? In fact, they're making $70,000 a year to speak their lawmakers. So why are we spending more than we are getting? That doesn't make sense. So I think we Liberians need to consider that our country should come first and not the individuals. And you Liberians, you are the enabler of the politicians stealing from you every day. Because when these people are held accountable, you go and start burning people's vehicles, you start burning houses, you start burning other places because you want to demonstrate for Yeke Kolba, you want to demonstrate for Kofa, you want to demonstrate for any government official you think about. Who are you harming? You're harming yourself, because when anything happens, Yeke Kolba, those people I just named and the other ones, they can get in a plane and they get out. You will remain there, because I was there during 1990 when all the government officials left. So this is the time to start thinking. You don't have to be educated, well educated, to understand that your life is important. So as we end this program, please let us start rethinking our priority in Liberia. Thank you and have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, Mr. Sapulosia. Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say, like I said, is the aid cutting has advantages and disadvantages, because I can tell you right now, I have followed the aid in Liberia, most especially the aid contributes significantly to the health sector. Liberia has not reached there yet for it to be able to fund a own health sector to be at a place where it's not even good yet. It's where with all the aid, it's not even good yet. So cutting the aid is even making it worse. So our people in Liberia, depending on these life-saving medication for him to go through the day. So I would say it was wrong for the aid to just be cut
Hey, boss,
abruptly.
what's going on, man?
If America was wanted to have some austerity measure, at least they should have informed the country that was the right thing to do, inform the country ahead of time that we're going to have some austerity measure with our policy towards foreign aid. So at least countries that are benefiting from the aid will be prepared to be able to take on some of the responsibility that the aids are funding. You also say that the Liberian government has to have an environment that is conducive enough that the country can be successful and the country can flourish. The only thing the only responsibility the government have is creating a conducive environment that the people should be able to work, that the country should be, that people should be able to survive. Every government, every country that developed today, that's the one thing the government did for their people, created an environment. In Liberia, we see that environment is not cultivated in a way that the people in the country also survive because of a lot of other things. They got a lot of smart people in Liberia. They got a lot of innovative people in Liberia, but the environment is not conducive for them to progress, for them to survive and stuff like that. So that's why I ask the government, let everything, the government process, everything, the governing situation in Liberia, and let's see how best we can create that environment for our people to be able to thrive and survive at another level. So I want to say thank you for all those who listen, for all those who participated. The opportunity is ours for us to take on and support our country in the best possible way. So, Mr. Kera, I want to say thanks for the time.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, folks, on that note, this is how we would like to end the show. As you have seen here, it will take us Liberians to start asking questions in order for our situations to change. We have $150 million that is being donated to Liberia. The question here is, if Donald Trump didn't talk about the cessation of aid, were we going to know how that money was being spent? You hear people saying a whole lot of things on how the money is being spent. And as you saw some of the slides that we show here today, the money is going in so many directions, and we don't know whether that money is really coming to Liberia. So as a people, we have to actually stand on our own, find a way to stand on our own first. And then when people come in with aid, they are helping us to solve the problem that we cannot tackle immediately. And if this money is coming, it should be a partnership where we lead, they guide us, but we lead in the development and usage of that money. Because from what I'm seeing here, we have a whole lot of organizations that are getting money in the name of Liberia, and they are not doing anything for Liberia. So on that note, we want to say thank you to everyone. Thank you to the U.S. government for even making that decision to take care of their own people. It's about time for the Liberian government to make the decision to take care of its own people. You guys have a great day. Tomorrow we'll be having another show on Liberia Shall Rise. Please join us as we continue to discuss what we can do to better our country. You guys have a great weekend. Take care.